last one where she was doing really good with it, that's the one I sent him.
So she's gonna have some bumps and bruises and maybe a scrape here or there.
Oh well.
She got a little upset at first, and I said, "That's the whole idea of learning how to master something." I said, "You got to try it over and over and over and over and over again."
Yeah.
She ran into the stone wall once, almost twice, but she did okay. And we got a bell for it. And we have things in my car to send home with you.
Okay.
Like a big ball.
A big ball.
Yeah, but she said that she just thought of it this morning. She said she could use that to practice her rolling with the martial arts thing.
Like an exercise ball?
No, like a wall, one that was a wall.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And those are actually smaller than the one that he has. So,
Right.
which is good.
Very good. How are you?
That's good. I couldn't figure out how. Because if you order these,
Right.
Or was the
He sat down and then lay down.
You didn't miss your little brother, did you? I can tell.
And she has my hand. So they all. It's like I want you to come to my house. I love your friends. I do. Cute. But obviously. Yes. Did you hear that? Did you hear what she said?
So they often do that.
Yes, she was, but she's not now.
No matter how fast it's hard.
Oh, well.
Oh, sorry, Bubba.
I think he missed you. Did you miss Sissy? No? I'm tired. I had a turn. Ashley brought her out. She was at 26.
I don't know what to see.
She's getting wore out.
You're tired.
That's okay. It's fun wore out. Yeah, I'm okay. Did you get your pineapple done? Did you get your pineapple done? Is it still in the car? Still in the car. Mommy's gonna wonder when you got your new little outfit when she does laundry.
A little issue that you said on the fun.
I might just make like a timeout corner. I'm about to go over there and make some calls.
There's still cancer cells and stuff. Right. Cells. So it's like kind of building up. And it's just right.
Of course, but that's last.
All right, number 34. 34.
Right, that doesn't change.
34 is church is marching on. Let's go ahead and stand this morning.
It'll be good. Hey, you too. Okay.
And let's do the first and third verse. My ears have heard the story of the Christ upon the cross, how he gave himself so freely for the church, such a cost. How with power the church was started on the day of Pentecost. His church is marching on. Praise the Lord, oh hallelujah. Praise the Lord, oh hallelujah. Praise the Lord, oh hallelujah. His church is marching on. The church that Jesus started has endured the test of time, for the gates of hell cannot prevail against his church divine. And the children of this kingdom will someday the sun outshine. His church is marching on. Praise the Lord, oh hallelujah. Praise the Lord, oh hallelujah. Praise the Lord, oh hallelujah. His church is marching on. All right, you can be seated. 39 will be our prayer hymn. Everyone has seen stuff about the camp in October, right? I will put that back on the bulletin board here shortly. I have a thank you card from Mom. I'll pass around that everyone can read. Want to, of course, pray for one another throughout every week, every day. Want to be praying for individual growth and perseverance. Please continue to pray for Sierra and her family. How's she doing?
She's doing good. She has treatment again this Wednesday, but it seems like, I don't know if it's because the chemo is building up in her system, but it's a little bit harder for her to
bounce back.
I was
Yes.
wondering that, like
She's-
over time, if it got
Yeah, she's
harder or
just-
better.
She feels weak and just, she has no strength.
How's class and stuff? Has she been able to?
She's done, she kept her grades up, she's still on the dean's list. So. she's
Where's
done-
she at in her degree?
She just finished her junior year,
Junior year, okay. She's got 1 year left.
1 year left.
Sounds good. How many, about 4 treatments left, 3 treatments left?
Four treatments left. Morgan's, surgery, I think, is scheduled for July 2nd
Okay.
to remove that tumor. And, we just found out this week that Dave's dad has liver cancer and there's nothing that they can do to, his health is too bad and has been for quite some time. There's nothing that they can do.
Who?
Dave's dad,
Does he live in the area? Or?
he's in Kokomo.
I'm going to talk a little bit about Compassion Coffee this week. That's the coffee project in Belarus that they are hoping to open in a couple of weeks. So I'll talk a little bit about that, but if you can be praying for that, we appreciate it. I'm very thankful for a great trip. It went really well. Took me longer to get adjusted this time. I got adjusted about a day before we came back. So, but it went really good. Stayed busy, and again, I'm going to talk about that today. I want to pray for travelers. I think we got Joni and Craig traveling, right? And of course, Teresa is away from us for the summer. Chansky and Dave, are they at Drill or elsewhere?
Back to Georgia.
Georgia. When?
Thursday.
Okay. All of our brethren throughout the world, those efforts in Ghana, Burma, Belarus, Vietnam, India, many other places, Philippines, New Zealand, other places that people go. I want to pray for the efforts there. Our military, their families, thank you for the sacrifices they make. I always want to pray for their souls and their spiritual wellness as well as their physical. Spiritual opportunities and effectiveness in the new week. I want to be praying for those and those that are dealing with physical stuff, health things and other items. Other things that you mentioned. Yes.
Jared Hance, one of our grandsons in the wall, I had a hard time getting that. Suffered a motorcycle accident last weekend, and we have to thank him, he came out as well as he did. And he ended up with lots of contusions and abrasions and all kinds of stuff that broke both bones in his, right above his wrist. And they have to go in Wednesday of this week and put pins in, all that kind of stuff. And he will be initially laid up for 12 weeks.
Good.
But he was very fortunate.
Other things that you mentioned. Yes. Steve?
This Thursday, I have my microscope, my lymph node biopsy, so pray that.
Okay. Good. This Thursday, you said?
Jay Moles is going to start a new job.
Really?
Yeah, so that's a praise. And then also,
Where at?
up in Cornwall.
He's worked there for 20+ years. Okay. Good.
What was
Jay Bowles has a new job starting in Carmel. I think he's been at the really at the Air Force Base for like 20 years. Carmel's growing up, so he's probably
I guess he's got one month so far
Yeah.
south, and then he
Yeah.
said, where you can catch it.
like this week?
well, already he's been driving to Dayton.
I think we'll be like 2 weeks.
How Jay is, or how close he is.
Older than me, I know that. He gave me his 50 thing when I had my birthday.
If you can put Melissa Logan on there. She has dealt with some weird stuff. You want to explain what's going on with her?
She is, it's called hepatitis, just somebody that pays in. So they will want to put a bar to kind of hold it out. And it dislodged like a couple weeks after they could find her. She was imagining the pain, gave her more pain medicine. And then she finally got them to look at it again and it was just floating around. Yeah,
Like
so-
literally pressing on her heart,
No, this,
wasn't
that's much.
it?
So then she had the surgery again, and she told them the same thing was happening. They just kept giving her more pain medicine, told her that that's normal to feel that pain, and they wouldn't look at it again after that. So she went to Arizona to the Mayo Clinic because she got someone there to agree to look at it. And it had punctured her lung and was resting on her heart. So they fixed that and are giving her other stuff to like work with the pain and stuff for recovery. Because now that their surgery in 3 months, like opening up her chest. So she's gonna be in Arizona for a few weeks, just so they can make sure everything is okay on that. But she also worked for the hospital since it went bankrupt and everything. And about it, she lost her job, so she was insurance.
Christina did too.
So she's had 3 major
Christina did too.
like surgeries and no insurance.
You remember the kid that used to come with boys sometimes with that headache, that skinny, he had that.
Yeah.
What is that called?
Pectus, like PCTUS, or IS or ES, I don't know.
Here is mom.
Here's mom, so she attended here for a while with her little girl.
Yep.
Little boy.
And the deal with the Fatal Memorial over here, going bankrupt and stuff, there were several that lost jobs. Christina was one, but she's already got another one.
Well, they
Hopefully
technically
it's
all lost their jobs now that Reed bought it, and everyone has to reapply.
Hopefully that ends up being a good thing. I mean, employees will have a better employee. The only thing that confuses me about Reed is they seem to be doing extremely well, and I have never seen them on a health network, ever. So I'm kind of curious how they make revenue. I literally have never had, of all the insurance I've ever had, they've never been on a network. So I don't know how they make their money, if they make it off of a lot of cash paying customers. I don't know how they do it.
At the same time, they, at the Connersville Hospital, they bought the Eden Kmart and they're turning that into a medical facility. and everything. Wow, they have a lot.
Well, they have been for years. They've been buying everything.
Oh, that's right. And you're saying they're not networks.
Well, no, yeah, I'm just saying, they've never been on a network of mine. Of course, then again, Faith Memorial was almost never on a network of mine. But I don't know. I don't know how the health industry works. I don't know if like Henry County Memorial has been on every single network I've ever seen in my life. So I don't know how that works. Ultimately, the organization seems financially sound and strong, so hopefully that's a good thing. In fact, they might even come here and put a lot of infrastructure and money and replace his job. Other things? Upcoming announcements. So June 14th at the New Testament Church in Hagerstown. Does everyone know where that's at? You hit 38, head west towards Newcastle, and it's a bigger church building right on the west edge of town. It's got this big kind of granite sign. It's New Testament Christian Church, I believe. I think it's Christian. So 7 p.m. will be the presentation for Burma that was originally scheduled about a month and a half ago. At some point in the next few weeks, probably have Mike Harper back. Since he's all semi-retired preacher, he's available, so he has to be come back. And I don't have the equipment. So, June responsibilities are the Smiths or Tina. I was corrected with. Other announcements. We'll have midweek study this week on Thursday. Yes.
I didn't bring anything today. I hope that there wasn't me today.
Oh, I didn't correct that.
Okay.
I'm sort of freaked out.
If not, we're not having a meal, guys.
Actually, we are.
Well, we swapped it last month, didn't we? We swapped something because of Mother's Day or something. That's why. So no, we're having first week fellowship, congregation, third week fellowship. Oh, I believe when's Father's Day?
Day.
So is
So they
it-
were
is
gonna
it-
do the 5th week. Cause
Yeah,
there's 5 Sundays.
Okay.
That's why I married her. Which is funny I say that because every time I've ever asked her to remind me of stuff, our entire relationship never
It's
happened.
because it's not important stuff.
Yes.
We need to keep Natalie in our prayers. She has, I don't know the name of it, there's medical terms for everything. But she has to have that cane now. She has to. She keeps falling down. She has no feeling on the inside of one of her legs. And now she's only got a third of the feeling in the other leg. Yeah, okay. Well, she's got all kinds of other issues too. But, because she's got this one thing called something spasm thing where her eyelids just close.
Bell's palsy.
Yeah,
Something like that, yeah. And so anyway, but she did say that when she was here a couple weeks ago, when Mike Harbor was here, she told me after that if she had a vehicle, if she could drive, she'd be here every Sunday. It really made an impact on her, the things, and then talking to him afterwards downstairs during the meal and whatnot, made an impact on her.
Cool.
So, she lives in Richmond. Yeah. She's not from there, but she lives in Richmond.
Okay, we are going to do the first and last verse of 39. And we're going to meld our prayer for Lord's Supper and prayer time today. So we're going to do the first and last verse of 39, and then we'll have Lord's Supper meditation. And then we'll have prayer and serve Lord's Supper. Okay, let's do the first and last verse. We praise thee, O God, for the Son of thy love, for Jesus who died and is now gone above. Hallelujah, thine the glory. Hallelujah, amen. Hallelujah, thine the glory. Revive us again. Revive us again. Fill each heart with thy love. May each soul be rekindled with fire from above. Hallelujah, thine the glory. Hallelujah, amen. Hallelujah, thine the glory. Revive us again. I want to read from another psalm today. As we prepare to take the Lord's Supper. Chapter 2, it says, "Why are the nations in an uproar, and the peoples devising a vain thing? The kings of the earth take their stand, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, Let us tear their fetters apart and cast away their cords from us. He who sits in the heavens laughs. The Lord scoffs at them. Then he will speak to them in his anger and terrify them in his fury, saying, But as for me, I have installed my king upon Zion, my holy mountain. I will surely tell of the decree of the Lord. He said to me, You are my son. Today I have begotten you. Ask of me, and I will surely give the nations as your inheritance, and the very ends of the earth as your possession. You shall break them with a rod of iron. You shall shatter them like earthenware. Now therefore, O kings, show discernment. Take warning, O judges of the earth. Worship the Lord with reverence and rejoice with trembling. Do homage to the Son, and do not become angry, and you perish in the way. For his wrath may soon be kindled. How blessed are all who take refuge in him." You know, it's interesting to go, again, one aspect of going to Belarus is you almost sense that people, there's a little bit of
jealousy in every conversation that you claim America as your home. That's just there. People just, they wish that America was their home, not a country that whose currency is not recognized and whose language is not recognized and whose existence in many cases is not recognized in almost any field whatsoever. I mean, America, whether it's sports or economics or whatever the case may be, within the world itself, there's in very many places a measure of pride that comes with being part of that organization. But as Christians, we serve the King of Kings. I mean, how much greater honor is it to serve the eternal King who God has put in place over Zion, over the kings of this earth that rise and fall, and he remains the same, steadfast at the right hand of God. And that's who we serve. And that's just an amazing blessing. I pray that that never becomes mundane to any of us. So consider that today as we partake. Let's pray. God of heaven, I'm so thankful for the opportunity to come before your throne. Lord, I thank you that you grant your children grace and mercy in your sight, and that you give us an audience with our King. Lord, we just pray, Lord, for the things that have been mentioned today. Lord, we pray for all of our brethren throughout the world who are striving for the faith of the gospel, that we share in that same purpose, and that we can provide encouragement and strength, Lord, and just the very extent of our skills and talents, Lord, to proclaim the gospel of Jesus Christ to this world. Lord, the things that have been mentioned, those that are dealing with trials and tribulations of various kinds, just pray, Lord, that you might provide them strength to overcome. And Lord, that your will would be done in all of those things. Lord, we pray always for our congregation. And Lord, we pray that we can be good stewards of the grace that you have provided. And Lord, use these resources efficiently. Lord, I just thank you so much for this time where we can come around and partake of these emblems. Lord, that we can remember and focus on our Savior Jesus Christ and recognize that we are not citizens of the United States or of any nation of this world. That Lord is here today and gone tomorrow. But we are citizens of the church, citizens of your kingdom, of which our Savior Jesus Christ presides over as King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Lord, I thank you for your grace and your mercy, the love that you have shown us. I pray, Lord, that you would be glorified in all that we do. Ask things in Jesus' name. Hope you guys are okay with this. I've done this a number of times at this point, but I like you guys to be familiar with things going on in Belarus. So first of all, here's financial statements. I forgot to pass those out. Also, here's some of the weirdest chocolate you'll ever taste from Belarus. So I'm gonna pass this around. If everyone wants to take a piece. There's 10 or 11 somewhere. So here's one that's open. And then feel free to open these. If someone just loved these for some reason, let me know and you can have the rest. It is chocolate from Belarus. Really weird chocolate. Tastes like a balloon. It's like broken down into squares.
Do they do, Matt?
Yes.
Do they do like they're doing in the UK that whatever products you make, you're not allowed in any conservatives or artificial stuff that
I know there's restrictions there. I don't think they have the dyes. I don't think they have corn syrup. So like Coke tastes different because our Coke I believe is made with corn syrup. Theirs is made with sugar. So.
Does it taste better?
Different. Have you ever had? You probably haven't had Mountain Dew Throwback, have you? Like Mountain Dew Throwback has sugar. It's made with sugar instead of corn syrup, and I like it. I mean, it's good. It's just different. These are really weird though. They do this bit with. They're all about fruit with chocolate. So it's chocolate, but it has kind of fruitiness to it. I don't know.
Dark chocolate.
You don't like it?
Huh?
You don't like
I
it?
didn't really like it. No. Yeah, it's like the white here or something. So this is just the Paris airport that I thought was one of the most ugliest pieces of architecture I've ever seen.
Looks like one of those toys.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah.
I had to take a picture. I'm like, some engineer thought this would look pretty and it just looks ridiculous. There's the French villages, Kaylee. Here's the metro. I took a picture. So I missed an awesome photo opportunity because we were going on the metro during rush hour, and you kind of learn that, you kind of make a walkway next to each door. So when the door opens up, people come off and then people funnel in. Well, we were towards kind of the back of that line, and people were literally packing in. And Oleg, like it was nothing, he literally like put his shoulder up against people and he was like packing them in, but we couldn't fit. And I'm like, I would have killed for a So we eventually got in there, and I mean, this is more metropolitan than Belarus, but it is just, there is no space. You are shoved right in people's business. I mean, Mike Carver, he couldn't have done that. He can take slightly less than that, but it messes him up pretty bad.
That's his tactic.
No, he's claustrophobic. I didn't know if you knew that.
Yeah.
What is it?
the hats for it.
The hiding.
There's the way.
Clear space.
I mean, people usually space anyway. But they don't know what to make of it.
It happens to keep people away. That's the end.
Yeah, I was shoved in the back of Bill's head. So I'm just showing out in the metro, you'll see like. Sorry, some of these pictures are bleh. So we went to Olga's flat. There's two girls that are living there right there at this particular flat. One is Ina, and you'll see better pictures of them later. Ina and Anya. Anya speaks pretty good English. She was translating a little bit. I mean, they're both 16 or 17. But Anya had some interesting conversations with, because she's trying to start a cleaning business and things like that. And she is actually cleaning Compassion Coffee for them some. But we went there that night, and I actually spoke, and I had a couple things that I could have talked about, but I just sort of opened it up and said, any questions about life, any questions about money or finances or anything like that? And the conversation actually got onto a pretty deep conversation. Olga asked, she's like, is money evil? So we kind of talked about some of those things. There's Olga. This is kind of one of her overseer gals. And I want to say her name is Sutka. She is actually where's she from? You can kind of see a different nationality there. I can't remember exactly what country she's from. She thought I was evil by the end of my conversation. Like, it was kind of funny because I was explaining. She was asking me questions like, I think I mentioned that I loaned some money to my older brother to buy a vehicle, and that I put my name on the title and we did a loan agreement. She just could not believe that. She's like, what do you mean you required him to pay it back? And within their culture, there is this extremely intimate honor code in families of how it works. Like, essentially, you work in order to provide your next sibling in line a home. And that's the way it works. So, and I told her, I said, you just need to understand that, our culture does not have that sense of honor. And she just couldn't believe. I'm like, it would be extremely inappropriate for Bill to ask me for money in our culture. For him to just come out of nowhere and ask me for money would we would be very confused. And it would also be very inappropriate if Bill wanted to borrow money from me, for Bill to not be willing or suggest to do some type of formal agreement with it. And she was just blown away because that's different in her culture. That is not the way it is in Belarus. Belarus is similar to here. People will enable people at times, but a lot of times there's no sense of paying back or whatever. Again, sorry, those pictures are bad. So, and you'll see a little bit better pictures later. This is a gentleman actually that was affiliated with an organization that helped support Olga at one point in time. He retired and he just travels to these international works. So he's like living in Belarus right now. And he tried to help Olga a little bit with her stuff. Again, so this is Ina and Anya. This gal was really neat. She showed up and she's about my age, and her name was Nastya. And she is like a ball of fire. So like, out of 100 Belarusians, 99 of them will have a relatively stable, monotone demeanor. And then you'll have one that is just, she fit in perfectly. She's a salesperson, and she sells. And when Bill heard that, he's like, that's perfect. So this is her daughter. She's about 16 or 17, something like that. But she attends Olga's church congregation and got affiliated, kind of is becoming what Sutka is. He's becoming an assistant there. But we invited them to an assembly Sunday evening away from Olga, and of course Bill pounced on that. We had a Bible study with her by Monday. So Bill is studying with her and her two daughters, ages, actually I think it's like 17 and 15, studying with them. Going to do that over Skype with Olga. Yep.
Just real quickly then, were the two daughters raised in an orphanage?
No. That's what okay. Like literally they're there because she's similar age as these girls, okay. But they were raised by Nastya. Nastya has been a single mom essentially for 10, 12 years, something like that. I did this just to try to demonstrate the cost of living different, okay? So this was 2 rubles and 30 kopecks. That is $1.15. So, what I tell a lot of people is the cost of living is maybe about 70% of here, but the average income is 20% of here. And that's the disconnect, okay? So that bottle of pop in the United States would be $1.89 probably, and there it was $1.35 or $1.20, something like that. But again, you have people making 1/5 of the money. So that's why a lot of people deal with a very poverty lifestyle in that sense, because things are so expensive. And proportionally, some things are outrageous, like groceries are outrageously expensive. Bill and I just ran to the store to grab a few random items for a couple of days, and it was $8. And it's like, some of these people only have $100 monthly budget, and we just grab some toilet paper and a loaf of bread and a few things. So this is Sveta, Olga's kind of original poster child gal. She's about 22 years old now, and she's getting ready to graduate from college, and she's working and everything. Bill's trying to bring her over to the States, spend some time with her. It's an example of a coffee shop right on. This is like downtown Indianapolis, essentially. This is right off of Victory Square. This is the Oktoberskaya shelter. So this is a shelter that Bill and his kids have specifically focused on for like 10 years and helped them with a number of items. Man, we got talking to these gals. So these are some pots and pans that Bill and his kids bought for them. This is the director. The director and the co-director. Some more pots and pans that Bill and them bought. Did you see this stove, by the way? This is the stove that make all the food and everything in the kitchen for the kids. Have a little stage area. You guys have seen pictures like that before. Play area. So, the director and the co-director, they each make $300 a month. So they probably work about 8 to 10 hours a day, something like that. And they said, a lot of times the state comes, it's not like the state ignores them. The state will come in and say, get this fixed, get it done. And then they'll turn around and leave and provide no funding. And if they don't get it done, it's deducted from their pay. So that's why, there's just endless opportunities from a humanitarian aid standpoint. Organizations from different churches and all this stuff come in and help support this because, like, if they didn't, it wouldn't get done and the kids just live horribly. But, usually over time, there's money provided for some of those things. This is the assistant director. I'm really wondering the quality of my phone or what's going on here. I need to brighten up the projector or something. I hope it'll get better. I keep taking pictures. I took this picture because Bill and his kids had paid for a lot of windows to replace some of the windows in this building. And the directors are very, very careful that they've only replaced windows in the kid areas. Because there's kind of an infamous thing that happened to, I guess, a Pentecostal group came in a couple years ago and fixed up an entire orphanage, put all this money into it. Government showed up and removed the orphanage and took over the building. So they're pretty shrewd in the sense that they're like, here, just do that, don't do any more, But these windows, that would be about $1,000 window in the United States, and they can get it done for about $300 in Belarus. It's the front of the shelter. I'm going to try to move pretty good here too, just to allow a little time for discussion. This is I just want to show this. This is an example of a house sort of outside of Minsk in a village. This gal, Olga, got this gal practically a train car load of wood to heat during the winter. So we were there visiting. And this is her heat stove. You walk in here and it's probably about a 500 square foot apartment that is just junk. We wouldn't consider it, there would be no living style like this anywhere in the United States. And she has this itty bitty little stove with a hole this big that heats the entire space. That's the way it's heated. You got kids outside. It's funny how kids will just take anything you give them. And someone had just went through and mowed the grass, so they were playing with the grass. Like building grass castles. And these are the most adorable little bunnies I've ever seen in my life that were for sale on the side of the road. And I took pictures of them. I didn't think they were real. I'm like, those aren't even real. They're not moving. And I looked really close, and now they're just sitting there waiting to result. So this is the seminar that we went to do. Lena and Atushka put on this seminar for 20 women. Half of them are currently in business. The other half are aspiring to business. So that was kind of neat the way she did that. So we had kind of this conference hall, and again, Bill, the dude is just amazing. He is part of the chamber out there in Oregon, and he markets just as Direct Connect. Like his organization is Direct Connect. So he gets all of this money from these business people. So they paid about $2,200 for this seminar. And that included this conference hall, 3 meals, hotel stay overnight for all of these gals and us and all this stuff in the town of Arisa. But pretty nice hall. Man, I cannot believe how bad those pictures are. I want to show you this picture. So my food is done there. What is missing from this table?
Drinks. Oh, there's one.
They bring the drinks at the end of the meal.
That's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, it's annoying. I'll usually drink my drink at the end of the meal, but I think there's a psychological comfort in knowing it's there. Because they don't bring it. They're like, they bring you soup and salad and your meal and everything. Eventually they show up with drinks. So this was our flat. We had a assembly there Sunday evening. That's Jeff Bisco. This is Vera. For those of you who remember Vera. Talked about a lot over the years. Probably had about 10, 12 people there. This is Sean O'Connell from out in Billings. Really good guy. We kind of, he's a Bozeman. Is Jeff in Billings?
Jacksonville.
Jeff's in Billings, yeah.
That's almost
Okay.
it.
Here's Nastia, Nastia's daughter. There's Anya. And that's Emma Jacobs. That is Charlie Jacobs' daughter from out in Bozeman. And you'll have better pictures of her. So this is the entrance to Compassion Coffee. So we drove by this at night, and I was thinking, what in the world was he thinking? However, it's a pretty killer location. Like,
this is the location of Compassion Coffee. It's got great potential here. It's right near one of the main drives. There's great foot traffic all around it. They're actually redoing this road next to me at the moment,
they're widening the road.
but they've got some major construction projects happening around here that are going to increase employers and ultimately even more foot traffic. Really, really neat. Sign's not up yet, but it opens here in a couple weeks. Should be looking great.
Oli did a walk study a couple weeks ago, and in an hour, which I think this was slow compared to what I saw, 100 people walk by in 1 hour. So that's where this coffee project is going to be. It's looking real. In these pictures, they were working on the walls. I'll have pictures here in a second. You'll be able to see the tile. But this is what Jeff seems pretty good at. He's used designers to design this whole thing, and like he's used designers in Belarus, and he's just blown away. He's like, I paid him $1,500, and they did about $15,000 worth of work in the United States. I mean, architectural plans, fixtures, all this kind of stuff. I thought that was really cool. They have this special thing done on that wall that has a map of the world, so it's plaster over the brick. So what he has is you walk in, that doorway, they actually cut into the wall of the building. They created a brand new doorway. Because all of these used to be flats. You have all of these apartment buildings where the bottom level flats are becoming gold mines because people want to buy them and sell them for businesses. So there's no zoning type stuff. Like this was an apartment. So what Jeff did is he has the front room where the bar and stuff's going to be, the coffee bar, and then he did a back room for events, which is unheard of in Belarus. So he's going to have like a little stage there that Alan Marshall can come in and play, or there can be meetings there. He's going to have a projector. He's got air conditioner in this thing, which again is unheard of in Belarus. Everything's looking really, really, really good. I mean, he is. So this is the landlord, and this guy is phenomenal. Like he goes to bat. He has a great relationship with Jeff. Goes to bat for a lot of the stuff for the coffee shop. Really kind of puts his foot down on the, helping deal with regulation, all that. Of course, this is Jeff, Emma, and Oleg. So Oleg is going to manage it. Technically, Oleg and Sasha Yashnikov own it. Technically, okay. But then he has an agreement back with Bird of Prey, which is Jeff's one of Jeff's charities. I'll talk about that here in a minute. So this is Vladimir. This is a friend of the landlord who owns 2 of his own coffee shops. So they paid him a consultation fee, and he's been doing everything to help get them all lined up and ready to go, which helps me. This was actually after I left. These pictures they're bringing in furniture, the bar, all this kind of stuff. It's practically ready to go. This was just built right down the street from Compassion Coffee. That's why they're widening the road. Serbs came in and invested in this. I mean, that probably houses thousands of people. And they have to walk right past the coffee shop to get to the metro stop. So the metro stop is right next to the coffee shop. So really, so there's the coffee shop. There's a coffee shop right next to it, but they're not worried. I mean, there's anywhere you stand in Minsk, you can see about 4 coffee shops. And this one looks way better. This one's kind of a hodgepodge thrown together sort of thing. So
Competition out there.
which I'm hoping culturally, I mean, Belarus is a lot, they don't like air conditioner. Makes you sick. Any kind of draft makes you sick. So it's going to be kind of but young people like American stuff. So this is the sign. It's really hard to see, but it's going to be this kind of neat, great work that goes over top, and then it'll have letters that says Compassion Coffee. This is the family that when I was there about 5 or 6 years ago, they were refugees from Ukraine. They now live in Belarus. This is their like 12-year-old daughter that painted that picture. I mean, unbelievable artist. I just could not believe. He is like a master chess player. His name is, what is it? Oh, it's kind of driving me nuts. Anton, maybe. So we ordered Domino's that night because they have Domino's over there now. Really weird. So, I mean, you look at Domino's, it's hilarious, the menu, because they have shrimp and squid pizza, all kinds of weird stuff. Their Texas pizza, I'm like, there ain't nothing like that in Texas. But they did have pepperoni, and we got the classics. So, we had a Bible study at their house one night as well. This is an American kiosk in a shopping mall, has Pop-Tarts. And we actually found peanut butter. It was $10 a jar. So, and I doubt it tastes. We always take a ton of peanut butter. We load Oleg up pretty well.
Is that marshmallow?
Yes, it is. Marshmallow fluff. No Mountain Dew though. That's why we're standing here. Is Olga's like, oh, well, I'll find you Mountain Dew. I'm like, I bet you won't.
Why did they not?
I don't know. It's not anywhere in the country. We met with Olga that morning, and just to not go too crazy here, if you could be, I'm potentially going to take on the role of her forwarding agent. I had thought this entire time, she's affiliated with this organization called Stoneworks International, and I had thought Stoneworks is like 80% of her support, and then, Direct Connect maybe fills in gaps. Well, she got pretty distraught during this breakfast because Stoneworks has started to question her integrity and everything, and they don't even support her. Like, I started talking to her, I'm like, you're telling me they don't support you? She's like, no, they're just a forwarding agent. They charge 5% to be a forwarding agent from any donations made through their organization. So I told her I wanted to get more information and figure things out, but I'm like, I could be a forwarding agent in this case, and that would let me deepen that relationship a little bit. From a transparency standpoint with everything with Olga. That was my breakfast. That was actually more meaty bacon than I'd ever had. Their bacon over there is disgusting. They have a thing called Sala, which of course Mike Harper loves because it's weird. Imagine the fat off of bacon with none of the meat. That's what Sala is.
Probably kind of like South.
South?
Well, sorry, probably close to what I thought we were on Joey, but
Jowl, possibly, yeah. It's disgusting. This was a candy shop in the mall we went to, and you guys like that candy? You like it? This was their Caesar salad I got somewhere. This was us meeting. I was talking to Andre, the landlord, about real estate stuff in Belarus, trying to understand that. This is Anya. We took them out. This is Ina. So those are the 2 girls at that particular flat right now, and Emma. I tried to take a video of the driving. It's just hilarious on the highway. They go 75 miles an hour, and everyone drives on the shoulder so that people can pass down the middle of the road. It's great. That's Emma. That's the back of my head at the business seminar. These are some of the gals that were there. Sean is he's kind of an amateur photographer who loves photography. He took a lot of these pictures and edited them. Oleg was worn out. Man, that dude, he is a trooper. So Steve was there before we got there. So Oleg maybe had a day or two break, but Oleg is helping coordinate the entire coffee project. So then we got there, and then Jeff and his team got there 3 days later. So Oleg was bouncing back and forth, probably working from about 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night every night. He lost his voice at the seminar. So then he was trying to be really careful and get his voice back. We were leaving. Jeff was staying for another week and a half. Then the store was opening, and then Steve was coming back. So Direct Connect compensates him, and he does not have another job, which is a huge blessing. But still, he's pretty busy.
I think notice Intershakers kind of over there.
She helped manage a coffee shop in Montana for a few years. She is pretty much orchestrating the entire opening. She's training baristas, and
She's gonna stay there.
she's staying there till July 10th. They're hoping to open by around June, maybe 20th, maybe a little earlier than that. I don't know if you're going to do that.
In that business group that I belong to, where the five
But
ladies
everything through
gave
translation.
me $2,000.
I did pretty good with my
Ladies
time
stood up
on
one morning and
Joe.
said, "You need
So
to
I kept
know
having
your
to do
status, gentlemen. You need to know your
So he did
distinctions,
marketing, and then I did business concepts around creation of business plan and HR management and all that kind of stuff. This was this conference place we were at, it's so weird to see places like this in Belarus, because it's like, okay, where'd this money come from? Because we had this nice conference hall, well, then they had this whole full-blown restaurant-looking thing that was attached to the conference hall. They had a bowling alley next to it, and then a room with like 10 billiard tables, all on this one level of this cruddy-looking building. I mean, it's really weird. In a town that's sort of sizable, but we weren't in Minsk, we were in Borisov. That went really, really well. Lena is wanting to do a contest to possibly bring 4 or 5 of these women to the States and go out in Oregon, stay with Bill, and let them go to the chamber and meet other business people and stuff like that. A lot of these are more artistic because Sean and Jeff just love photography, so they're snapping pictures everywhere. That's Lena Atushka. So just kind of remember her approach is I say it's not just reactive, some of it's proactive, but she has dealt with the empowerment or rehabilitation of women who have either been in severe abusive situations or been trafficked. But this is more probably proactive, where she's trying to empower these women across the board to be able to.
She's on crutches.
Yeah, she like fell and hurt her foot. So there's a group. And Jeff and his team came here to participate in that as well, just to watch. So this is where we stayed. This is called the Dormitory Hotel of the Borisov Meat Factory. Oh, that was pretty fun. And this place was pretty weird. They have this wolf that is not anatomically correct as far as it's not done very well, but it's like made to look super mean, like greeting you as you're coming in the door. So we were cracking up and doing stuff with that. The meal we had, I just took a picture of a Burger King, and the Burger King throwing pretty heavily over there in Minsk. And the last picture I want to take was the man Capri's on the walkway of Finland. Very different fashion over there. So Compassion Coffee, the idea, remember, is that Berta Prey primarily is the investor in that, like probably 80%. But the idea is all profits are going to feed the nonprofits in Belarus. And Jeff's idea is he actually wants this to be a model in the United States. He wants to bring it back to the United States with this very open concept of all profits go to feed humanitarian aid work overseas, which I think is a genius idea. So I helped him a little bit at the beginning with some of this stuff, and then I had to step back because my life got a little chaotic about a year ago. But I told him, I'm like, I've got a little more time at this point. I can help with a lot of this thing. So we talked about a lot of that stuff. I hope they're going to do okay. Their location is very, very, very good. But Jeff is probably the greatest fundraising charitable genius I've ever seen. Have I explained what he did? Does everyone understand what he did? He created, so out in Montana, 501c3s can submit a license plate to the BMV to get approved. And they market those license plates in the BMVs. If someone chooses to buy that license plate, then the charity gets $35. Okay? So what he did is he started out with that. And as time has went on, Jeff full-time manages 7 different 501c3s, all of which have a plate in the state of Montana. And every single 501c3 has a specific purpose. Like one 501c3 is all about raising money for airfare for people going to do humanitarian aid work. So every single 501c3 has its own board, its own director, all this stuff. All of those 501c3s are bringing in, they sell an average of 900 license plates per month.
All through the BMV.
All through the BMV, which the BMV pays all production costs. There's no administration, nothing. So his charitable efforts are bringing in around $30,000 per month. Close to, I mean, he said, and it's actually slowed down. I misunderstood him at the beginning of the trip. He said he was down to 30. I thought he meant 30 plates. He meant he's down to $30,000 of revenue a month. So he just, from a charitable standpoint, he literally has money to burn. He built an entire water station. He essentially built a water business in Philippines for a contact that Jay Wilson had, created a water business that, again, had a similar concept where it would help some of the, the Christian contacts there to have a business to operate, raise money, provide all, a service. So really, Jeff is an awesome guy. I mean, really very down to earth. He's probably not the guy that's going to be up preaching or teaching, but very entrepreneurial, very intelligent. I've really enjoyed being around him. So.
After those plates they designed, I mean, me and Chantel kind of researched what designs people would like.
Oh, no, I know, yeah.
So they were quite ingenious in those designs that would be so appealing.
Yeah, they've literally created almost kind of a viral fad in Montana. So not only did they realize the opportunity, but then he's created desirable license plates for everybody. So again, spend more time with Olga. If you could be praying for that situation, I'm pretty interested in maybe deepening a relationship with her there. I still really like what she does. I know Bill, in traveling with Bill has had some experiences that he kind of questioned Olga, and I told him, this is kind of contrary to all my experience with her, and sitting down at that breakfast, I'm just constantly pretty convinced of that she's the real deal. I really like what she does, but I'm very curious of what her support stream and everything looks like. She mentioned that breakfast, that she's very blessed in the sense that I didn't realize this. I thought her husband was like a stay-at-home dad, and they got their income from the ministry. He makes 80% of the income. So she only pulls 20% of their income from the ministry, which is a couple $100 or something like that. So I'm pretty impressed with her, but I'm going to try to deepen that relationship a little bit. But
Wasn't she here a few years ago at Bible Camp?
yeah, she's been here 2 or 3 times. Her sister lived in Florida. Any questions at all about anything?
Housing.
Yes.
I noticed in various pictures that they have attached and detached style housing. They don't have a populace that makes having a real estate very difficult for being able to afford, like being able to afford a detached house compared to an attached.
There's a lot of factors there. So it's kind of like comparing a house in Connorsville to an apartment in downtown Indy.
Okay.
So the flats and mints can get pretty expensive, but a lot of them have owned them pretty much since Belarus became a republic. So they owned them when they were very cheap. Well, now, like when I was talking to the landlord, the gal interpreting was the daughter of the lady that Jeff and them were renting their flat from. She owns 4 or 5 flats in Minsk, and she bought them all for like $100,000 in the last few years. So it's not like you're getting those for $10,000 or something. So she bought them for that. But then I asked the question about the standalone homes, which a lot of times will be on the outskirts of Minsk or will be out in towns and stuff. I assumed they were much cheaper. And this gal mentioned that the standalone homes sometimes can be even more expensive. It's very bizarre. Like, you know, the housing cost there, it seems expensive to me in Connorsville, probably still outrageously cheap. I mean, I know it is. I mean, literally, I'm talking about their apartment literally looked out onto the busiest street in Minsk, right next to a metro stop, and that lady bought it for $120,000. A similar apartment in Indianapolis would probably be a couple million or more, pretty easily. But still, it just kind of surprised me how expensive that was, because we rented our flat for about $40 a day. So I was talking to Andre because Jeff's like, hey, maybe the ministry could invest and you could help manage some of those. Can you get a feel for what real estate is like? Well, I was blown away how low the return was. Because if you bought it for $120,000 and you're renting it almost like a hotel by the day, she's only yielding about $1,000 of rent per month. I mean, $100,000. I mean, that's 3 times what I pay for a lot of my apartments, but they're barely getting 40% more in rent. So it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of weird. But then part of that too is the appreciation there is just huge. I think people are wanting to buy some of those things because they're at this point, Chinese are coming in, everyone is coming in and investing in Belarus. Like it was way easier to get in this time. I didn't have to have a visa. If you're there 30 days or less, you don't have a visa or nothing. You can show up with your passport and you're away. So it's getting way more world friendly. So because of that, you have investors coming in and values, I'm sure it's like experiencing again, the values of the United States probably 40 years ago as they were rising pretty heavily through 70s and 80s and things in certain areas. So, but most people still, like we had a Bible study the first night with a doctor, a very accomplished doctor, bilingual, and she has an apartment smaller than any that I own, probably about 700 square feet, and just very dated, very simple, and everything that she owns in the entire universe is in that apartment. I mean, that's the way most people live, very simple. Any other questions? I know we got what's food situation.
Just one thing, how many kids does Olga have now?
I didn't clarify that this time. I know she works with all these orphanages and all these efforts. As far as the flats themselves, I haven't clarified if she has 2 or 3 flats. So usually she will probably have about 6 to 10 kids housed at one time, I believe, is what she'll have. But I have not confirmed that. I'd like to confirm that. But those kids are always transitioning. Every time I'm there, there's different kids in the flats, obviously, because they might be there for a couple months, they might be there for a year, as they're transitioning from that orphan life to. But like Anya is super sweet. You know, Anya and both of them are super sweet kids. But man, their background is just rough. I mean, it's I don't know. I think it's a testament to Olga and her efforts there.
Are they open to the word and to the truth of the word?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, a lot of them are. I mean, that's the thing in working with Olga is there's great humanitarian effort there and there's spiritual opportunity. But I mean, Olga's Pentecostal, so I mean, you hope that some of that comes about. But a lot of these kids are influenced, at least, with a Pentecostal environment. So they become, you know. I mean, Anya, it's not speaking in tongues, but like Anya does the pray thing, and so does Nastia. They pray while you're praying. So it almost sounds like they're speaking in tongues, but they're not. They're actually praying while you're praying. So there's just some of those things, but there's definitely opportunity there.
Is there a high rate of addiction and alcoholism there?
Oh yeah. When I was there 4 or 5 years ago, the World Health Organization came out with its alcoholism study, and Belarus was the top. So on that report, the United States had 3 alcoholics per 100 people. Belarus had 15. But most of those people in Minsk, Most of those people in Minsk, though, they are, you don't see them. They're not out on the streets or sitting on the corners. Like, they're pretty much shunned to their, if you're going to drink yourself to death, go sit in your apartment and drink yourself to death. I mean, you don't see a lot of those social problems brazenly on the streets. A lot of times it's people sitting in their apartments drinking themselves to death. So,
I was wondering if that's why they're kind of drawn to the Pentecostal religion, because emotionalism and all that stuff, you know, that.
yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of surprised they are, honestly, because they're not a very, I don't want to say charismatic as far as beautiful, but they're not an energetic people, really. I mean, they're maybe some of that comes from the socialism and everything, but it surprises me kind of that the Pentecostal thing has a draw because it's so charismatic. And maybe that is the draw that allows them to kind of break loose a little bit, you know?
It tends to attract the addicted type people. They kind of get addicted to it.
Oh yeah. It's a high. It creates an emotional high. Yeah. I don't know in this case really. I don't think that's the case because, I mean, probably 80-90% of religious people are women, and they're not the ones dealing with the alcohol problems. I mean, the men are just losers. So, for the most part. And then you've got your exceptions. I mean, Oleg and Nikolai and some of these guys are just amazing. But, yeah.
So the age that these young girls that are in the class, what is the age then that they can go out and start working?
They can start working. I mean, Anya's 16 and she's worked for a cleaning company for like 6 months or a year or something like that. So I don't know if there's labor law sort of thing. But I think they are out of the orphanage at 15.
And also the women that were at this meeting, are most of those women like single mothers, and if they're out working, then how you take care of the children?
No, I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I think a lot of them were probably married, and again, these were not women that had those problems. This was more of an effort of Lena to promote empowerment to not be victimized, if that makes sense. So I didn't realize until we got there. I thought it was going to be 20 women interested or aspiring to business, but about 10 of them have business experience and are either running a successful business or have ran businesses in the past. But everyone said it was insightful and helpful. So. All right, if you got any other questions, let me know. I thought it was a great trip. There's good stuff there. There's opportunity everywhere. And like I said, Minsk is so much of it is still kind of a facade because, I mean, you know, we were talking about that, but one of Olga's biggest problems is she'll give an allowance to these girls for toiletries and stuff like that, and they will save it up and go buy an outfit because fashion is so important. I mean, we spread our living across everything we have in America. Our house matches our car, which matches our clothes, which matches our food, which matches our hobbies. They don't do that there. They will live in an absolute pit and starve themselves in order to have a beautiful dress. And they'll only have 1 or 2 of those dresses. But so that creates this very weird facade at times, I guess. So still a lot of social problems and things there, but there's great opportunity through that humanitarian aid to have an impact on people.
Did you see Mama Means?
No, I didn't see her this time because I didn't spend as much time with Olga. I'd never traveled with Bill, so every guy I travel with has different contexts and sort of a different agenda. But the main focus of this was that business seminar and the time with Lena. I mean, we spent probably 3 days.
Did your lessons go well? Then I know you're concerned about translation and
Oh yeah.
everything.
Yeah, I mean, I hit on very basic principles that are universal, but I didn't get into their financial system and things like that. I didn't want to get to that point. So, because that's their banking system, their financial system's completely different there. So. Anything else? All right, food stuff. Do we need to wait a minute, or is it coming, or what's the plan?
No, it's Subway sandwiches. They're in the fridge. Just have to put them out on the table. But let me tell you, I didn't know we'd be so lean today.
Yep.
And so take sandwiches home
Okay.
afterwards. Fill your lunch bucket, okay? Because there's going to be a lot. So.
Sounds good. Thank you for organizing that.
You're welcome.
Let's go ahead and stay and go to number 50. Any other announcements we need to be made aware of?
Get out the oil can.
WD-40 keeps
Right,
us
that's
starting to
40,
say
right.
All right, let's sing the first verse, number 50, and then we'll be dismissed. This is my Father's world, and to my listening ears, all nature sings and round me rings the music of the spheres. This is my Father's world. I rest me in the thought of rocks and trees, of skies and seas, and the wonders wrought.
Matthew, could I say one thing about the food items?
Yes.
It's kind of hard to write down what food items I need because it says you need 12
You're talking about BBS?
chocolate chip for BBS, 12 chocolate chips per student, and I don't know how many are in a bag and
Just
everything. So,
generalize.
well, I planned it for 35 kids. Now,
Okay.
we might only have 20.
Right.
But I've got it down on the board out here for each day what I need.
Okay.
So, but
Sounds good.
they have 3 more. So we need to-
And what's our BBS date?
July 15th through
15th, okay.
And I can't remember when did I say the next meeting was? Does anyone remember? Next week? Okay. What case is it?
What's on my phone?
So,
All right, dismiss. Go eat.
I don't know if I know.
Yes.
No, that one's not, it's going around to everybody.
CV.
It's for
Okay.
everybody to
Yep.
see. So we're gonna put it there and give it back to Nancy.
Okay.
Nothing, I'm standing here, I'm just not eating.
Is it something? See, the hard part with that, especially.
Come on, let's go.
now,
Let's go play.
I mean, we end up having to switch from YouTube to disc to DVD to file. That's always been my hesitancy. Is it something that could be like played at the very beginning or something? Just
Yeah.
like,
It's kind of just something that we did that we do attention.
Uh-huh.
And then, so it's very actionable. It's very-
shoot me, maybe shoot me a text with a video on it. Maybe I could reach you or something.
I haven't, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She played it for me, I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's really.
It's real
it's
very, motion active thing.
Okay.
Because it's.
Well, and if it's something, is there something maybe I could duplicate without the music? I mean, if I could do something like that, again, just where it's not something else we have to access in the computer.
Maybe, because I think it's something similar to, there's a whole lot of change coming your way. Like it or not, nothing stays the same. So hold on tight and follow it close. God is good and he's in control. And that's the whole entire verse. That's it. It's just.
I feel like I've heard that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to bring it in.
Yeah.
She was up on a dead end road and she said that.
I'll bring it in.
You going out to your vehicle now?
Yes.
I will too, and grab the.
Yeah, you would know. It's your husband. She had one daughter, maybe that was